These vests only for people 16 and older. This is a Type 4 throwable PFD. If you're operating a boat 16 feet or longer, you must have one of these on board. Type 5 PFDs are special use devices designed for specific activities. One Type 5 used for recreational boaters is this belt-style inflatable PFD. For those of you worried about unwanted tan lines, this PFD is a great option. This PFD is U.S. Coast Guard approved only for people 16 and older. PFDs come in children's sizes, and it's important to keep PFDs on all children at all times. Be sure to select a PFD that's designed to keep their head above water. Make sure the life jacket fits your child properly each time it's put on. After fastening the life jacket, lift the child by the shoulders of the jacket. The child's chin and ears should not slip through the PFD. To encourage your children to wear their PFD, put their name on it, and make sure you always wear your own. After all, you never know when you might end up in the water. You can read more about PFDs in your manual to find out which one's best for you. The next priority for all boats is a fire extinguisher. Why is that important? Take a look at this. A sudden fire, particularly one that breaks out in an engine compartment, can literally devour a boat. In a matter of minutes, it can burn right down to the waterline. That's why every boat, and that includes personal watercraft, must have a fire extinguisher. Always check to make sure it's in working order. And of course, be sure to keep your fire extinguisher where it's easy to get to, just in case of an emergency. We've dealt with navigation lights in a previous segment, but it's worth repeating. The law requires you to have proper navigation lights and to use them whenever you're away from the dock between sunset and sunrise and whenever visibility is poor. You're also required to use an all-round white light between sunset and sunrise whenever you're adrift or anchored away from dock. To find out which lights are required for your boat, refer to Chapter 4 in your manual. Signaling devices are also important. In periods of reduced visibility or dangerous situations, it's essential to have some type of sound-producing device. The louder, the better. Along with sound signals, many boaters who travel on federally controlled waters, such as coastal waters, are required to carry visual distress signals. The requirements for distress signals vary, depending on the size of the craft and the time of day you're boating. Visual distress signals are classified as day signals and night signals. One type is a pyrotechnic device, such as a flare, and the other is a non-pyrotechnic, such as a flag. Check your manual to see what signaling devices you should have on board. Every now and then you might encounter someone who's in trouble on the water, perhaps displaying a distress signal. Often, people just have engine trouble, but it might also mean pulling a stranded boater out of the water or getting help in more serious emergencies. Most people are naturally inclined to stop and render aid. When there's serious injury involved, it's the law. If you're involved in an accident yourself that results in death, injury, the disappearance of someone, or substantial property damage, you're obligated to report it as quickly as possible. One of the reasons we like to get out on the water is to get away from it all. The scenic beauty of a lake or coastal water is relaxing and renewing. So we all have to be vigilant in keeping these areas as pristine as possible. Fragile ecosystems can be upset by the introduction of new plants or animals. So as your day ends, empty your bait bucket on land. Don't release live bait into a body of water. inspect your vessel and trailer, and remove any plants or animals. Drain your motor, live well, and bilge on land before leaving the area. Rinse your hull, propeller, and trailer equipment. Air dry for as long as possible. It's also illegal to dump untreated waste, oil, or trash into the water. One simple way to make sure that you comply with all the requirements for safe boating is to request a vessel safety check by the U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary or the U.S. Power Squadrons. The examinations are free, and they won't give you a ticket if your boat's not legal. They'll also make sure you're equipped for just about any boating emergency, a subject that we'll cover in the next segment. Cruising the lake on a beautiful day, no one really thinks about boating accidents, but they do happen, and all too often, they're fatal. Most boating fatalities occur in open boats, on inland waters, in the afternoon, when the weather and visibility are good. Because most accidents are the result of a simple mistake, nearly all accidents are easily preventable. That's where risk management comes in. Simply put, risk management means to recognize potentially dangerous situations before they happen and take steps to prevent them. Here's an example. Because most fatalities are a result of drowning, wearing a life jacket is the top risk management precaution. With today's PFD options, there's no excuse for not wearing one. Bear in mind that simply being out on the water fatigues you and reduces your alertness and reaction time. Boating stressors such as the sun, motion, noise, and vibration of the vessel make you tire more rapidly on the water. Dehydration can also take a toll, so be sure to stay hydrated when you're out. However, the number one factor that reduces alertness and reaction time on the water is alcohol. Combine it with all the other stressors, and you have a potentially deadly recipe. Alcohol contributes to many boating accidents and to about 1/3 of all fatalities.
At 3 o'clock in the morning, my husband and I were awakened by a policeman and a chaplain knocking at our front door. As soon as I saw him, I knew that it was something bad. And the only question I had was, which child is it?
The boat carrying Kay's 22-year-old daughter, Debbie, was hit from behind as it idled on a lake. The other operator had been drinking at a lakeside bar. In news stories, Debbie Rock's name joined a growing list of boating fatalities.
She was not just a number on the coroner's report. She was a real person, and she had a lot to give. Bad things happen to really great people, and they don't have to. It helps me to make Debbie's death not in vain. You know, she lives on through my being able to talk about what happened to her. And she leaves a legacy of trying to tell people that to be responsible and to not drink or drive any motorized vehicle.
It's because of tragedies like this that most states vigorously enforce laws that prohibit drinking and boating. About 70% of all boating fatalities involve drownings, and almost all of these victims were not wearing a life jacket. In an emergency, you need to be able to get to your life jackets quickly. If they are stowed away, still in their plastic wrappers, or under other equipment, they will do you no good. The best precaution is to simply wear your life jacket. You may not have much warning that you are about to end up in the water, and a life jacket is very difficult to put on once you are in the water. Just try doing it and you'll see. Despite ideal weather conditions, passengers fall overboard, and many boats capsize or swamp. This causes more than half of all boating fatalities. You can minimize the risk of capsizing, swamping, and falling overboard. Just practice some simple precautions. Capsizing usually occurs when a boat operator takes a sudden or sharp high-speed turn, so always maintain a prudent speed. Swamping is often the result of overloading or boating in hazardous weather conditions. Pay attention to your boat's load capacity and the weather. Keep your passengers from going overboard. Don't let them sit on the gunwale or transom, stand, or lean out of the boat while underway. Another important way to prevent accidents is to stay alert. Failure to stay alert and pay attention to your surroundings are major causes of collisions. Many boats have burned to the waterline needlessly. Either the boater failed to have a fire extinguisher on board or simply didn't know how to deal with a fire. If the engine catches fire while your boat is underway, turn the bow into the wind and stop the boat. Grab your extinguisher. Pull the pin, aim the discharge at the base of the flames, and spray the fire, sweeping back and forth. Remember, never use water on a gasoline, oil, grease, or electrical fire. Water will spread a gas fire and will conduct electricity. During cold weather, a lot of people enjoy hunting, fishing, and other activities, but it's during this time that falling into the water poses a serious threat. When you first enter the water, the initial cold shock can cause involuntary gasping, hyperventilation, and panic. Try to control your breathing. Hold on to something if you can, and stay still until your breathing settles down. Focus on floating with your head above water until the cold shock passes. In cold water, you can lose dexterity in 10 to 15 minutes, so make sure your PFD is fastened securely. Try to reboard your boat, even if it's swamped or capsized. Keep as much of your body out of the water as possible. Don't take your clothes off unless absolutely necessary. Remember, clothes trap heat and can help you float. If you can't reboard, a PFD will allow you to stay afloat, and it will also help you to insulate your body. Be sure to keep your head and neck out of the water. An invisible killer that attacks boaters is carbon monoxide gas. You can't see, smell, or taste it, but only a few breaths can be fatal. So keep air moving through your boat at all times when it is running. Don't tie up to another vessel that is running. Its exhaust can release carbon monoxide into your boat. If your boat has a cabin area, be sure and install a carbon monoxide detector. Never swim around the swim platform while the engine is running. 1 or 2 breaths in this area can be fatal. One way to avoid disaster is by watching the weather. Weather can change suddenly and create unexpected situations for boat operators. Even meteorologists have trouble predicting changes in the weather, so stay alert. If you get caught in severe weather, check your PFD to be sure it's properly fastened. Reduce speed, but keep enough power to maintain headway and steering. Have your passengers sit on the floor close to the center line for their own safety and to make the boat more stable. If there's lightning, disconnect all electrical equipment and stay clear of metal objects. If possible, head for the nearest shore that's safe to approach. Point your bow into the waves at a 45-degree angle. Personal watercraft should head directly into the waves. Some folks just use their boat to cruise, but many of us use our boat for sporting activities. Know the do's and don'ts of each activity to help avoid accidents. Pulling someone behind a boat may not look tricky, but to do it safely, you'll need to develop good habits. This is true whether the person you tow is on a board, skis, or a tube. First, you need to have a group of at least 3. It makes good sense to have an observer on board, and in many states, it's required. All towing sports take a lot of room, so pick an area that's not congested. Stay clear of beaches, docks, and swimming areas. It's also a good idea to check out the area ahead of time for hazards, such as shallow water or obstructions. A personal flotation device is a must. Make sure it's a U.S. Coast Guard approved PFD, designed for active water sports. Before your boarder gets in the water, shut off the engine. When the boarder is clear of the stern and ready to go, restart the engine. Power forward slowly until the tow rope is taut. By the way, the rope should never be wrapped or tied around the boarder. That could lead to disaster. If there's no traffic ahead, apply enough power to raise the boarder out of the water. The person being towed determines cruising speed by using hand signals. Thumbs up for more speed, thumbs down for less speed. Be especially alert when you're towing anyone. Keep track of the boats around you and stay at least 2 rope lengths from hazards or the shoreline. And of course, never buzz or spray another boat or swimmer. It's illegal. When the boarder drops or falls, circle slowly to return the tow line or pick the boarder up. Some states require boat operators to display an orange or red flag to signal to other boaters that someone is in the water. Boarders should hold their board out of the water when downed. It makes them more visible. As you approach, be sure to keep the boarder on your side of the boat for best visibility. Before you let the boarder approach the boat, shut off the engine. Once everyone's on board, retrieve the tow line. Remember that these are all daytime activities. It's both dangerous and illegal to tow someone after dark. It's also dangerous to consume alcohol and get behind a boat. You need quick reflexes and a clear head to stay out of trouble. Many hunters use vessels for duck hunting or to get to their favorite hunting grounds. If you use a vessel to hunt, be sure to follow these practices. Wear a PFD. It's essential because being active in a small boat increases your risk of capsizing or falling overboard. To avoid capsizing, keep weight in the boat evenly distributed. Be careful not to overload the vessel with gear or people, and bring along only well-trained dogs that can remain still in a boat. If you're hunting in cold weather, be sure to dress in several layers to avoid hypothermia. And never fire shots or release arrows until the vessel is stopped, the motor is turned off, and the vessel is secured or properly anchored. If you fish from a boat, think of yourself first as a vessel operator. Know and follow all safe boating laws and requirements. Pay attention to the capacity plate and don't overload your boat. And most importantly, wear a life jacket. Anglers using boats can be at risk. Unfortunately, anglers capsizing or falling overboard are common fatal boating accidents. Other operators who encounter fishing boats should slow down, give them a wide berth, and avoid making a wake. We've looked at some of the most common activities you might be involved in with your boat, but there are many others: scuba diving, swimming, windsurfing, and sailing, to name just a few. This wraps up the video program. We hope you've learned a bit about the responsibilities you signed on for when you take control of a boat or personal watercraft. First and foremost, you are responsible for the safety of yourself and your passengers. You also have a duty to others on the water and an obligation to protect the environment. Always remember, boat safe.